Hi everyone, this is Joyce Polino Crane. I'm the news director at WestfordCAT. I'm here today with a special person who is a resident of Westford and also a meteorologist and the WBZ executive weather producer, Terry Eliasen.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you.
This is so exciting.
This is part of our celebrity series.
Oh
You're
boy,
one of our
that's
celebrities, Terry.
Now you're making too much to live up to.
I know, now the pressure's on.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. So because this is my chance to whine about the weather, because today is April 19th and I woke up to snow.
Yeah, I drove through a pretty good snow shower on the way to work today, and was, you know, it's getting old at this point. I think just about everybody's had enough of the snow this season.
Absolutely. So what is going to make it better? What's going to change it?
Well, I think there's good news already. I mean, we're getting, the next 6-7 days look dry. The weekend looks great. I mean, maybe once you're watching this, it was the past weekend, but next week, 60s are finally coming into the picture. I think we may have seen the last of the snow today, although I wouldn't rule out, you know, a little flake here or there, but I think today might have been it. Fingers crossed. Fingers
crossed.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you're right. So
yeah.
What's on tap for May?
I think overall, we're going to probably jump pretty quickly from spring to summer here. And I would guess sometime around maybe the second week of May, mid-May, we're just going to, it's going to be like, okay, I guess we're through with winter now. And so the next couple of weeks, some peaks and valleys, a few, you know, times of cold. But the good news is, once you get to late April and early May, even if you're a little below average this time of year is about 60 degrees. So if you're 5, even 10 degrees below average, it's a lot better than where we've been over the last, say, 6 weeks or so.
Oh, absolutely. But does this mean I can put my winter coat away?
I think so. I mean, I wouldn't start gardening just yet. I mean, I think we've still got some cold nights ahead. They typically say once you get to the third week or so of May, that's kind of safe time to start with the gardening and a lot of that stuff. But I think we can put the snow behind us. We can put the shovels away. We can put the snow blowers away. I took the gas out of mine last weekend, so I probably jinxed the whole thing there. But
you have to be careful with that.
Right, exactly. But it has been a long spring that has felt a lot like a long winter.
It sure has.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm a swimmer, so I'm waiting to get back in the water. And it's going to be a long haul.
Well, as you know, the swimming season here is maybe 3 months if you're lucky. There's not, I mean, you're talking June, July, and August, and actually the last couple of years we've had some warm September and October. So you've been lucky the last few falls. But spring in New England it's always a wild card. New England's always the last place in the country, usually, to feel real warm spring temperatures.
And why is that, Terry?
Oh, it's just the beauty of living in New England. It's just, what else would it? It's all about being a hardy New Englander. I mean, it honestly has a lot to do with the cold ocean that's just off our doorstep. I mean, the ocean is very slow to warm, so it takes weeks upon months to catch up to the actual air temperatures. So if you've got a 40-degree ocean sitting to your east, the sea breezes and any type of wind, any direction coming from the ocean, you're gonna be cold, and that happens a lot this time of year, especially along the coast.
Yeah, but so if you're further south, you're near the equator, or you get more sun. I mean, how does it work?
I mean, right. So the further south you go, the warmer the ocean temperatures are.
Yeah.
And obviously the higher the sun angle, the earlier in the season. So we just sort of, I mean, it's part of being a New Englander, I think, that you just know that, you know, it's a relatively short summer season, but we enjoy it while it's here, and we appreciate it even more while it's here because we know where we've just come from. Sometimes, though, I ask myself, what am I doing here when in the 4th month of winter, and you know, I'm chiseling ice off my roof, and you know, my wife is snowblowing while I'm stuck at work for 3 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to ask yourself, what am I doing? But then we're reminded. Summer and fall.
It's so beautiful here, and I never want to be anywhere else in the summer.
Agreed.
But here.
Agreed.
But so I do have a question, though. I don't know if you have the answer. If there was a second choice of where you would live, where would that be?
Oh boy, well that's a tough one because I've lived here, not just here in New England, but here in Westford my whole life. I grew up in Westford, so I love Westford. I love New England, but I think. It's tough to say. I think I say I would like to go to a place like San Diego because the weather's obviously always beautiful there, but I wonder if it would bore me after a while.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know. Florida's too hot.
And
you know, the
humid.
south is too humid, right? But I think, you know, something like San Diego, somewhere over that, it would be nice. But I think, as a meteorologist, I think I would tire of it pretty quickly. It would get pretty boring pretty quick.
Yeah. So I guess we have to just stay in good old New
I think
England.
so. I think so. Yes.
So with this weather pattern that we've had this month, and then last month too, with the nor'easters,
Yeah.
is this indicative of something bigger, more global going on?
So I guess the answer to that is yes and no. I mean, we get these patterns here. It certainly isn't as if the Earth is rapidly warming and all of a sudden we're just going to have crazy nor'easters every 3 weeks. I mean, that's not the case. But there are larger scale atmospheric things going on which led to what has been a crazy and cold 6 weeks. And I don't want to get too technical and too scientific here, but a couple things that we sort of are looking for and we keyed in on. There's something called the Mad and Julian Oscillation. Basically what it is there's a cluster of active weather that sort of migrates between India, Australia, and out into the Pacific. And by tracking that unsettled area of weather, you can sometimes predict how warm, cold, or stormy it's going to be here in the United States. Sounds like it's a ways off and sounds like crazy, but it works really good. And it was a big reason why we were able to predict this cold April we had. Another thing that we knew was going on was it's been warm up at the poles, up at the North Pole. It's been very warm this winter. And once you get warmth up there, there's usually a high-level area of winds that spin pretty quickly around the poles that keep all the cold bottled up there. Well, when it gets warm and those winds start to weaken and slow down, then you start getting these long undulations, and some of that cold can pour down into parts of, say, the United States or Europe. I don't know if it was maybe 2 years ago you heard the term polar vortex.
Oh, yes.
So that is sort of a fancy and hype-ish type of way of saying what I just said. Mm-hmm. You get this cold pouring down from the northern latitudes into the United States, and that's something that also has happened here over the last 6 weeks. The storms, the stormy pattern was more to do with another indice we look at, which is it's called the North Atlantic Oscillation. This sounds all I know it's very, very scientific.
Very
but
scientific.
And basically what that is it's a big block that sits over Greenland. Big area of high pressure sits up there. And so it blocks the atmosphere up. It's a big block in the roadway, and the cold and all the storms sort of get shunted down here. And so that block, when it does form, it can last 4, 5, 6 weeks, and that's pretty much what happened. We had storm after storm, cold upon more cold, just pouring down here. So I know that's a long answer to a short question, but these things do happen. Back in 2015, we had a similar setup when we had all that snow in February and part of March.
The memorable winter.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a similar pattern. No two patterns are exactly the same, but we can key on these things ahead of time and hope to predict, in advance, these stormy patterns or cold patterns.
So I have a question that's going to make you know that I'm not a scientist at all. But, so if Australia, if we get weather patterns from Australia to New England, what do the Australian meteorologists do to predict weather?
It's everything's connected. I mean, if you think of the Earth as one giant atmosphere of ocean, there's like a big ocean on top of us of air, and so it's not as if the thunderstorms that are in Australia are coming to New England, but that stuff is firing off signals that have changes in the jet stream that have propagates down to our area. So it's a one big connected system. But I guess what you're saying is, if we look to Australia for the weather, then where do they look?
Where
I mean, that's just
look?
one thing that we look at for larger scale weather. There's certainly tons of others. El Nino, La Nina is another thing. There's a whole myriad of different weather things that are going on in the atmosphere on a daily and monthly basis that we take into account. That's just one of them.
So when you're at WBZ, what equipment are you using to predict wet weather?
I mean, a lot of the weather models that we look at are available online. You could see them yourself at home. You could see them on any laptop if you paid the monthly prescription for the sites that, some of them aren't even very expensive. The key is obviously knowing what you're looking at and how to read them. And that's what school and college is for. But essentially, we look at anywhere from a couple to, say, 10, 15 weather models on a daily basis. We're looking at Doppler radar, we're looking at satellite imagery, and all this stuff is obviously paid for by WBZ. You can't get all that stuff sitting at your house, but you can get enough at your home that you could be sort of a recreational type forecaster and make a pretty good forecast just sitting at your laptop at home. Love to be able to sit at my laptop at home and not drive into BZ every day, but we also have a graphics system, a very high-tech graphics system we use to make all the graphics you see on TV. So there's a lot of very expensive pieces of equipment, obviously, that help us to tell our forecast and make it look presentable to the viewer at home.
So when the weather announcer is standing up in front of that map, he or she is really just seeing a green screen, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And why is that? Why can't they
just put a map behind them? In the old days, so I work with Barry Burbank, who's been at WBZ for 40 years. And he always talks about the old days. There literally was a map behind them that they would draw on a magic marker.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And honestly, you know what? That's kind of cool. I think I would think that'd be kind of fun to actually draw it on the map. But there's so much technology has come so far now that the green screen it enables graphics to be that much more sharp and vivid, and it enables us to do a lot more than we could with just an actual map behind them. We do have a giant 103-inch plasma that we sometimes use, which is just a TV behind them, but. I don't know, chroma key and green screen just seem to be the way things work. I keep saying to Barry, if you stay here long enough, maybe 20 more years, we'll probably end up going back to the maps that you drew on before, it'll come full cycle.
I bet it will.
Yeah.
So what's your role at WBZ?
So I do a little bit of everything. I mean, I have a hand in forecasting. I manage the weather team there. So from shift to shift, I'll make sure that everyone's on the same page. I'm the main communicator with the news department, so it's important that the news department and the weather department are on the same page. We don't want them tossing to Barry saying, "So big storm coming tonight," and then Barry saying, "Where'd you hear that?" It's important that they kind of know what we're thinking, and when the right time is to sort of talk up a storm or talk down a storm. And so I'll go to several meetings a day with them. I do most of the graphics you see on TV, so I have a hand in a little bit of everything. Producing half-hour specials that we do before winter. It's great. I had never had a desire to go on TV. I've been asked to and politely declined, saying I'm fine behind the scenes doing what I do.
I can't blame you for that.
Yeah, I feel safer behind the scenes. I don't need everybody looking at everything I'm wearing. I mean, some of the comments we get to the on-air folks about their hair and what they wear, and I don't need that. Just put me behind the scenes in my little cubby and let me do my work. And,
yeah.
But it's a great place to be. Really good people, great team. I really love it there.
So tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be a meteorologist.
So it's funny, I think most meteorologists have a story. They have like something they remember from their childhood or something that sort of draws them into the science. And for me, I was 10 years old, living in Westford, 1985, and Hurricane Gloria went right over Westford.
Wait, what part of town were you in?
I was living in Nab.
Okay.
And the eye of the hurricane went right out on top of us. I remember as my dad and uncle took me out when the eye came over, and it was like blue skies and calm. And then 10 minutes later, as the eye wall comes back over, we rush back in, and the winds are going crazy. And I was fascinated.
Oh, wow.
And from then on, I just started more intently watching the local newscasters and the Weather Channel. Just got really interested. And I had a great science teacher at Westford Academy. His name was Mr. Sobek. He really was into the earth science thing and got me even more fascinated and kind of got me thinking like, geez, maybe I could do this for a living. Mm-hmm. And by the time it came time for college, there was no question that meteorology was it. And that was what I wanted to do.
So you knew from the day you got to college or before that?
I knew from that, I can remember back to the hurricane when I was 10. I don't know if there's anything before then, but most meteorologists, it seems like they just know that there's something in them that just is a spark that says it's a fascination, and you got to just explore it further. And I'm glad I did. I mean, every day is different. I mean, there's no 2 days that are exactly alike, and it's always a challenge.
So you went to UMass Lowell? Mm-hmm. And they have a major there for
this?
It's
really one of the few schools in New England that you can go to. It just happened to be in my backyard.
That's amazing.
My dad had gone to UMass Lowell, was an engineer, and so I was sort of thinking that way anyways. But the fact that I could go there for meteorology was a bonus.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's only a handful of schools in the area that you can go to, and that was one.
So you graduated and...
So the best thing I probably ever did was I interned, my last year of college, I interned at WBZ with Bruce Schwegler, and then I interned at the time was Channel 7 in Harvey Leonard, who's still on the air today. And so Harvey was there at the time, and as I was leaving that internship, I was also graduating from college, and he says, geez, you know, you're great at these graphics, you know, you interested in a job? And I was like, are you kidding? Yeah, sure.
Oh my goodness.
So started working at Channel 7, HDH, right out of school. Worked there for 5 years with Harvey and Mish Michaels. And then once Harvey and Mish left, I decided to go over to Channel 4, and I've been there ever since for 16, 17 years now.
That's amazing. So that was the first and only job you've
I've worked as a producer in Boston and weather for my whole career, yeah. For 20 or so years combined, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm speechless. I'm not often speechless.
Right. Who grows up and lives in the same town and then works in the same place? I'm very lucky, very blessed to. Yeah.
So today is April 19th, as I just said, and there's a meteor shower coming on Sunday. What did you call it? The Lyrid?
The Lyrids, yes. The
Lyrids.
So the Lyrid meteor shower, we get a handful of meteor showers per year. The Lyrid is kind of an average one. We have better, we have worse. There's, at best, you could probably see maybe 20 meteors in an hour. Meteors being like a shooting star going across the sky. Yeah. And so the peak would be late Sunday night, early Sunday morning, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. But you could see a few on the nights on either side of that as well. I think they're great, and this weekend we're lucky we have clear skies, so the viewing should be good. It'll be a little chilly, but you bundle up and go out at midnight, 1 a.m. or so, when it's best, and just lie back and look up. And
there are some more coming. There's another one in May.
Yeah, there's one in May, and then the best one, typically the best one of the year, comes in August. That's the Perseids, and that can be 100 or more an hour. I remember. I don't know the year, but about 10 years or so ago, I drove up to the Haystack Observatory here in Westford because it's such a nice, dark, open space. And the Perseid show was amazing. There were, I think there were like thousands per hour. It was like raining meteors in the sky. I'll never forget it.
Really?
That was a really lucky year.
I kept watching that night and that year, and I just couldn't see anything in my.
It's very important where you go to look, because you have if you have artificial light around you, you know, it could be, you know, a house light or a street light, or obviously if the moon is up, then it really dampens the show. So you need to find a dark spot.
Yeah, I was on my deck in Chelmsford.
There you go. Yeah.
It wasn't going to work out that well.
But these meteor showers can be great. If you've never seen one, especially the kids, I mean, it's worth staying up late or waking them up and staying just for 10 minutes and bringing them outside.
Yeah, the only shooting star I've ever seen is when I was a kid in Brewster on the Cape one summer. That was it. It was so magical.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And to think that what's happening is the Earth is passing through a path that was left by a comet, and this comet was last here, I think 150 years or so ago. Comet goes by, leaves this path of dust and debris, and the Earth just sort of flies through it. And it's really just little pieces of dust that are igniting to like 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit as we go through it, and it just causes these streaks in the sky.
That's so fascinating. Yeah. So it's not actually happening when we're seeing it.
Well, the comet has passed by many, many years ago, but it left this trail of debris that we fly through, right? Every year.
Time.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Great stuff.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Astronomy, like, that's sort of, besides sports and baseball, astronomy would be my second hobby if it wasn't for weather. I think I would want to do something with that. But between weather and coaching a lot of baseball lately with my boys, which I love, I'm pretty busy.
Well, let's tell everybody about your family. You married a Westford girl.
I met my wife Stacy at WA. We dated. Hard to believe, I was a sophomore and she was a freshman when we started dating, and my son is now going to WA as a freshman. To think that he could meet his wife, you know, blows my mind. But so Stacy and I met at WA. We ended up buying a house in Westford back in 2000, and been here ever since. Love it here. I can't imagine living anywhere else. It just is. It's such a great place, such a great community. And my kids are now growing up playing baseball at the Graniteville Fields and Forge Fields, and I'm lucky enough to be able to coach them, and like my dad did for me. So.
That's really lovely. So you have a 5th grader and a 9th grader?
5th grader and a 9th grader, Tyler and Kyle. And yep, they play baseball pretty much all 4 seasons, indoors and outdoors. And and that's where I spend. If I'm not at BZ, I'm probably at one of the ball fields in Westford. Yeah.
And they'll remember that forever, that you were there with them.
I hope so. Yeah. And that's what I remember about my childhood is, my dad being my coach, and that's our time that we get to spend together.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the summer and what you see coming for weather.
Yeah, so seasonal forecasting is not easy, but I think there are certain things that we can look at weeks and months in advance that gives us clues as to what the next season may be. And the summer looks to me as though, well, first of all, we've had a La Nina going on. La Nina is basically cooler than normal waters off the equatorial Pacific and on the Pacific Ocean. And when you get a big area of cool waters, it has big ramifications on the weather around the globe and here as well. So that La Nina is kind of going away, and the forecast now is for a La Nina to start to come on, which is the opposite of La Nina, El Nino.
Who names these?
Good question. It's clearly someone who's Spanish, because those are Spanish names. But so El Nino is going to be coming on, we think, this summer, and that, in conjunction with a few other things we're looking at, probably means a warmer than average summer, which is it's hard to believe sitting here today on April 19th, having it just snowed today, and we've had really no real warm days. I think the summer will probably average out warmer than normal. We'll probably have more 90-degree days than we've had the last couple summers. And that could also have ramifications on hurricane season as well. If a weak El Nino could mean a fairly active season, but if it comes on a little stronger, then we're probably talking about a weaker than average season. If you have a big El Nino, it tends to dampen the hurricane season. So that's really kind of getting long-range look, but I think if nothing else, we can expect a hot summer, hotter than average.
I don't want a hotter than average
I agree. The last couple of summers have been delightful.
It's been wonderful.
Fairly dry. So dry we had a drought a few years back.
That's right.
So we're nowhere near that.
Right. Hart Pond in Chelmsford was very, very low.
Yeah.
Because it relies on rain. It's not spring fed.
Right. The grassy pond here in Westford was gone for a period of time.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
So we're well past the drought, as I'm sure everybody that's watching knows. We've had enough rain and snow to last us a little while. But again, it does look rather toasty for the summer.
So does that mean I have to put my air conditioner in the window, because I really don't want to?
I think I would do that. Yes. For me, I'll turn the air conditioner on as soon as it hits 65. I like being chilly. But yeah, I think this summer might be one of those where you're kind of hoping you had the AC in.
No fans this year, huh?
Yeah.
Because I really did well the whole summer last summer.
Yeah.
And I swam, as I was telling you before, I swam right until October.
That's right. We've had some warm falls. The last couple falls have been September, October, even parts of November have been quite warm.
Oh, it's been wonderful.
I don't know about this fall yet. That's a little far out there, but it seems though the seasons have been shifting a little bit. The winters have been pushing into spring, and the summers have been pushing into fall. And whether that's just a random occurrence of the last 5-6 years or something that's going to be happening more and more because of larger scale factors, that remains to be seen.
Interesting. So can you dish a little bit about the people at WBZ?
Oh boy. It's really a great crew. So I've worked in TV, as I said, for 20 some odd years, and I don't think I've ever been part of a better crew than we have right now. The weather team, Eric Fisher's on in the evenings and Danielle in the mornings, just really smart people. Yeah. Good family people too. Barry, like I said, has been there 40 years, and he's almost like a second dad to me. He's seeing him and his kids and how he reacts with them, just really good people. I wish I had some dirt. And if I did, I don't know if I would necessarily spring it up. But it's a fun place to be. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So, but that drive is a little tough.
Yeah, I don't know. Driving down Route 2 every morning is a challenge. That is the one part of my job I don't enjoy. But nonetheless, once I get there, I'm happy. You know. Yeah. But yeah, Route 2 during commuting hours is tough. Going through Alewife and Fresh Pond, and BZ is not in downtown Boston. WBZ is near Cambridge. It's on the Alston-Brighton line, and it's just a tough place to get to.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough place to get to. So in case our viewers don't know, you are now our honorary meteorologist here at WestfordCAT.
Excellent. do I get a ribbon or something for that?
You get an attaboy.
Oh, excellent.
And so you've been letting me consult you every once in a while, and we're so thrilled to have you here.
I'm excited to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have your webpage, the link to your webpage on our website, WestfordCatNews.org. So do you want to give your link?
Yeah, I mean, Westford.org, if you go to the main Westford homepage, I think it's on the right-hand side, there's a little place you can click for forecast. And so I've been updating that for, geez, I don't know, 15 or more years? I'd have to look back and see, but it's been quite some time. So I put a daily forecast up there. Once in a while, I'll copy something from BZ if I write an article. Like right now on there is something about the meteor shower.
That's how I learned about
it. Okay, well, there you go. And I keep track of the snow seasons as well. There's pages on there. So each season, every time there's a storm or snow in Westford, I'll keep track of it. So it helps plow drivers out if they need to know how much snow fell and just little stuff like that.
You can't know how much that helps me when I'm writing an article and I'm trying to review, about the weather. And I just only discovered that you've been doing that all these years.
Yeah.
I've been writing about Westford since 2002.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. I think it's a good little resource, and it's hard to find a local Westford forecast. I mean, you can have it. I mean, there are apps out there, but there's not somebody actually focused on Westford. It's it's a computer program. So
right.
So yeah, I enjoy doing it. It's good.
What inspired you to start it, though?
It's been so long I don't even remember. I think I was just on the Westford website and one day, and I saw there was a little icon for a forecast, and so I think I emailed the guy who was in charge, and I said, "Where do you get the?" I think the forecast was wrong or something, and I said, "Where do you get this forecast from?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just from some." I don't know if it was an app or something, and I was like, I'd be happy to give you a little forecast, and here we are 15 years later, still plugging away. But I've got some great feedback. I mean, I think people like seeing a tailored forecast for Westford, and I enjoy doing it.
So we just have about a minute left, and I don't know when everybody's going to watch this video, but can you tell us a little bit in more detail what we can expect for weekend weather this week?
So, well, this coming weekend, which is, I guess, April, where are we, 21st?
April 20th, 21st.
21st, it looks great. Sunshine both days, in the 50s, so still a little chilly, but from where we've been, it's going to be great. Early next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in the 60s, really, really glad we're finally getting there. A little bit of rain maybe midweek, and then perhaps another bigger warm-up for later in the weekend, next weekend.
Yay.
Hopefully. Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming, Terry.
Thank you for having me.
Really enjoyed this.
This was fun. It went by fast.
It went by really fast. For WestfordCAT News, this is Joyce Polino Crane. Have a great day.